Hi guys, so our next quiz is going to be about reproduction. There's two types of reproduction we learned about. The first one is asexual reproduction. That's when there's only one parent and that one parent passes on 100% of its DNA to its offspring. So the offspring are identical clones of the parent. Bacteria use asexual reproduction, and some plants do, like strawberry plants can use asexual reproduction when they send out little runners. Those are new clones of the plant, but they're new offspring, right? Starfish can use asexual reproduction too, so it's one parent passes on all of its DNA to its offspring. Some good things about that is they can reproduce much faster. Like when we did the cereal lab, the Cheerios represent the asexual reproduction, and the Cheerio population grew much faster than the Fruit Loop population, right? Also, it takes less energy because the organism doesn't have to worry about finding a mate, right? Like peacocks have colorful feathers and they do a fancy mating dance to attract a mate. So that's a lot of energy, but for asexual reproduction, if you don't need a mate, you don't have to worry about all that energy to find a mate, right? So those are some advantages of asexual reproduction. Some disadvantages, though, are that there's no diversity. Diversity means like variety, like there's lots of different types of organisms in a population. But with asexual reproduction, there's no diversity. They're pretty much all the same because they just are clones of each other, right? Now, sometimes there's mutations, but we'll learn about mutations later. So if there's no diversity and the environment changes, that's a bad thing because they might not have the DNA they need to be able to withstand the change in the environment, right? Like for example, maybe a certain bacteria lives in a really hot pool of water, like in Yellowstone. Like maybe it lives in like a hot spring or something. And that bacteria is adapted for that certain temperature. Now, if the temperature suddenly changes and that bacteria can't handle the new temperature, then all of the bacteria are going to die because they're all clones of each other. They reproduce asexually, right? If they reproduced sexually and they had variety, then maybe some of them would be able to survive that temperature change and the population would be able to survive still. So that's a disadvantage of asexual reproduction. Now, sexual reproduction is when there are two parents. They both give about 50% of their DNA to the offspring. So the offspring are not identical. They're like a mixture of their parents. They have some DNA from the mom, some DNA from the dad, right? There are some advantages of that too. So an advantage is they have variety, they have diversity. So if the environment changes, they hopefully at least some of them have the traits they need to survive that changing environment, right? The disadvantages of sexual reproduction are it takes a lot of energy to find a mate, right? Like I talked about the peacocks. The peacocks have to have colorful feathers. They do a fancy mating dance to find a mate. That costs a lot of energy. Where bacteria, they can just split in half. They don't have to worry about finding a mate, right? So it's more energy to find a mate for sexual reproduction. And also it happens more slowly. Remember in our cereal lab, the Fruit Loops, their population grew more slowly than the Cheerios did. So that's another disadvantage of sexual reproduction, okay? But they do have diversity. That's a good thing about it. Also, you need to know about Punnett squares. So for sexual reproduction, when there are two parents passing on their DNA, sometimes we wonder what DNA they're going to pass on, right? So Punnett squares are a way for us to figure out the possibilities, right? So let's say we have rabbits, for example. So in rabbits, this is just an example, not in real life, but in rabbits, let's say that the gene for black fur is dominant. So when we're talking about dominant genes, we use a capital letter. So I'm going to use a capital A. Let's say the capital A represents black fur in rabbits, and let's say the lowercase a, the recessive gene, is white fur. And let's say we have two parent rabbits, the mom and the dad. Let's say the dad has black fur and he has big A, big A. And the mom rabbit has white fur, so she has little a, little a. Now, we want to find out the possibilities for their offspring, so we're going to use a Punnett square to figure out what the possibilities are. I'm going to draw it over here. That might be easier. So then you put one parent on one side. I'm going to put the dad on top. And then the side is where I'll put the genes for the mom. So now we copy the genes from the top down, and then we copy the genes from the side across, okay? So I'm going to copy the capital A's straight down, and I'm going to do that for this one too. I'm going to copy them straight down. Now the lowercase a's on the side, I'm going to copy them straight across. So these are all the possibilities for offspring, right? All of our offspring, since the capital A is dominant, all of our offspring are going to end up with black fur because the capital A dominates over the lowercase a, okay? That's just in this case though. Maybe we have a parent with a capital A and a little a. Then these ones would be the same, right? But this is the one that's going to change. So we need to copy down the lowercase a and then copy across the other lowercase a's. So this one we're going to copy down. And then these ones on the side we're going to copy across, right? Just like last time. Now, these are the possible offspring if we had a parent with a capital A and a lowercase a, and then another parent with lowercase a, right? The possibilities are we could have offspring with black fur, right? There's a 50% chance that the offspring are going to have black fur. But then there's also a 50% chance, 2 out of 4, that the offspring are going to have white fur, right? So you just do out of 4, right? So 2 out of 4, 50% chance that we could have black fur, and a 50% chance that we could have white fur, right? So that's how you do Punnett squares. They'll get more complicated later when you learn more like in biology and stuff, but these are just such simple examples for now. So I hope that was helpful. Please ask me if you have more questions, and good luck on the quiz.